Last week, we went through the session 3, which was on the case worthiness of a situation. Now we will go to the session 4, which is getting the protagonist on board. The objective of this program is to enhance executive ability and decision making skills with in company case studies. This program is being brought to you by METL Global Perspectives, www.metl.in. The case is centered around the protagonist, the leading character, and what the individual did in the given scenario. As a case writer, you need to identify the right person to be the protagonist. There is a tendency to have the senior most person as the protagonist, but that should be resisted. The protagonist is one who was deep into the trenches when the situation was playing out and responsible for taking actions and directing action to address the particular situation. In a case, the situation need not be resolved to the satisfaction of all or resolved at all. However, what is important is to identify the right protagonist. Through in-depth interviews and multiple discussions, the protagonist's way of thinking needs to be understood by the case writer. The way the individual makes decisions, the way the individual assesses a situation, the way the individual gets work done, and the way the individual leverages connects to get the right expertise needed, the right contacts and permissions, and all that at the right time. What was at stake for the individual? The motivation for the person, the various options in front of the person, and why the particular option was chosen. A situation that is addressed in a particular manner by one individual can be very differently addressed by someone else. When you're trying to identify the right protagonist, find someone who knows what really happened, has deep domain expertise, and has really worked at the ground level and carries the top management's perspective as well. Many people would have worked at resolving a particular issue, but the one who knows every aspect of it, held the strings and was involved right from conceptualization to execution is the right person to become the protagonist. Some of them might not like to come out and share, but as a case writer, you need to convince them to share their insights with others and thereby create a knowledge repository that benefits the organization over the years. In the situation below, who is the protagonist? Consider the launch of a new car. This would involve the strategic thinking, the statutory approvals, the design, the manufacturing, the launch, the marketing, the sales and sales enablement, the website, the distribution, and servicing. There will be many department heads involved in this, all of who would play a critical role. Many crucial interdepartmental decisions would have to be made. However, the protagonist of the case would be the project head and not one of the department heads. Why do you think so? This project head might be from a particular department, maybe design, and has to steer it right from conceptualization to the implementation. In case it is not obvious, the way to identify the protagonist is to ask the question, if this project does not take off, who is the one who would lose his job or would have his or her entire career tarred? How do you engage with the protagonist? It is a good practice to share a questionnaire with the protagonist before getting into a discussion so that the individual is well prepared with all the information and insights you require. The questionnaire should seek inputs on the following aspects: case scenario and the way it evolved. Why was the protagonist tasked with resolving the scenario? Background information of the protagonist, experience, expertise, years in the company, and what is expected out of it, him or her. What was the real issue? Who were all involved? What were the options evaluated? Which option was chosen to go ahead with? Why? Any financials and other complexities involved, for example, the statutory ones or the governmental authority, permissions and all which comes in. In the case that you are writing, identify your protagonist, speak to the individual and seek agreement. Prepare a questionnaire and send across to the protagonist. Once you get a response, seek time for the interview and discuss the responses. There are certain people who don't like to write a lot. So in that case, you just go ahead and have a discussion with the individual and keep making your notes, or use a dictaphone to note down what the individual is trying to say. So message me your queries and I'll try to revert as soon as I can to you. Reach me at sogata@metl.in. Your next week's session, the session 5, will be establishing the dilemma. Happy case writing till then.